Salute, salute, salute. Wow. What it is, what it do, what's happening. It's nocturnal. Real quick video, and then I'm gonna get out the way. I want to talk about the final press conference. Let me sit up, man. Correct my posture. The final press conference with Errol, Spence, Brian Custer, Terrance Crawford, and some pugilistic journalists that was asking some questions. And I also want to touch on the talk about real quick Shawn Porter, Showtime Shawn Porter. I was listening to the Porter Way podcast on my way to work, and he was doing an interview a couple of days ago, so I'm late. He was doing an interview with Terrance Crawford, and he had the comedian Earthquake, shout out to Earthquake, and then his best friend Ant with 2 T's did a nice little podcast with Terrance Crawford. Some things that Shawn Porter said that just stands out to me. So shit, where do I begin? My little protein grenade. First things first, right? Wash that down. Excuse me, I apologize for smacking in your ear. That's very rude and not thoughtful. That's very inconsiderate of me. I apologize. All right. So, first of all, shouts out to Contender Regime Boxing. What's good with y'all boys? He was the first person, so I'm gonna give him full credit. I seen on his community post, he had a picture of Errol Spence and his son. So, you know, they on the track and field, most recent pictures. Errol Spence flexing with his son, flexing, and Errol Spence is in phenomenal shape. Terrance Crawford, shouts out to Boxing Ego, first person I seen this community post. Yesterday, Terrance Crawford posted his most recent picture of him, and he's flexing too. You know what I'm saying? He's just throwing up the one, and he's flexing that 8-pack, and he's in impeccable shape. So both guys are completely locked in, dialed in, on point, peaking, perfected, peaked, beast mode. Salute to it, right? But the as far as the final conference, which was done via Zoom, Errol Spence was Errol Spence as far as he kept it monotone. He wasn't too high, wasn't too low, nonchalant and stoic. Okay? Kept his temperature right there, smooth. Terrance Crawford looked very energetic, looked youthful, and looked vibrant, and I felt like he was very comfortable and open, and his energy was, I want to say, just a little bit more. I want to say it was higher than Errol Spence. He was monotone as well. He was stoic as well. He was comfortable and cool as well. But I felt like, you know, he just opened up a little bit more and talked a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? And you got to pay attention to the little very, very, very small details at this point in time. You really got to pay attention to the things they don't say versus the things that they do say. You know what I'm saying? And it's the things that you don't see versus the things that you do see. You got to look behind all the curtains and lift all the rocks and leave no stones unturned. And, you know, this is very meticulous, nitpicky stuff I'm going to talk about right here. And not that it really makes a huge difference, just my observation. Errol Spence, they talked about the all access. You know, nothing really was newly revealed as far as he just said, you know, we moved to Vegas a little earlier to get acclimated, and brought his nutritionist to keep him on track with his weight. Him and Derek James is dialed in, just basically polishing up and going over the game plan, making sure everything is understood. And they have, I think they are are between Errol Spence and Terrance Crawford. When I listen to them talk, I feel like they have really diligently did their homework on each other for the last couple of years. They have ran the fight and assimilated it through their mind. So you can hear the way they describe the way they think the fight's going to go. You can tell they have thought this fight out round for round in every different scenario that they possibly can go through. I have Errol Spence talking about how the pace is going to get pushed, and the ebbs and the flows and the ups and the downs and the highs and the lows. And you hear Terrance Crawford, the way he describes the way he thinks the fight's going to go. Terrance Crawford, he always kind of focuses on, being himself, being able to make adjustments. Neither one of them really want to expose a game plan necessarily, but they really both want to sound very confident and very comfortable and calculated. So I didn't expect to get a lot out of either one of these guys, but you can tell when they talk about the fight that they both have meditated on this fight and have already fought the fight in their mind multiple times. One thing that Terrance Crawford did say, because it's always a big thing when you do an interview with DJ or interview with Errol Spence, or do an interview with Bomac or interview with Terrance Crawford. One big word that don't nobody ever want to hear is if. If this happened, if you win, or if you lose, and they shut that down real quick. Derek James said we don't dwell in ifs, we dwell in definitives. Errol Spence say stuff like he don't focus on losing, he don't focus on this. He's all about focusing on the win. Bomac would be like, stop your interview. You don't say win. You can't keep saying if. Bomac said you got to say win, I win, when we win. Don't be saying if. And Terrance Crawford don't ever like to talk about the possibilities of losing as well. You know what I'm saying? But in this last little interview, he just barely cracked just a little bit. I couldn't believe I heard him say it, but he was like, because he was really focusing on the win, but he said, and if you lose, you kind of go back to the drawing board and go from there. And I just couldn't believe he let that slip out, the possibility of the thought of losing. You know what I'm saying? But that's nitpicky stuff. Just like I don't nitpick, but I do hear when I hear a forger and slip, I gotta, like I was listening to the Porterweight podcast with Shawn Porter, and he just had me rolling in my I was doubled over laughing because he was talking about you can't get nothing out of Shawn Porter really. Shawn Porter is all over the place. One interview I hear Shawn Porter say, oh, Errol Spence is bigger. Errol Spence is bigger. Another couple of days pass and he's like, I don't know if Errol Spence is bigger than Terrance Crawford. 1 minute he's saying, if I had to bet my money, I'd bet money on the pressure style of Errol Spence. And then the next minute he'll say, Terrance Crawford has the ability to, set you up with a big shot and change the way you think, on the attack, punch it between your punches and this, that, and the third. But one thing he said, out of all the stuff Shawn Porter said, one thing he said that just made me just kind of double over. Not funny, but it was like, okay. Because I always had a thought that Shawn Porter just really never really accepted his loss against Errol Spence. You know what I'm saying? And he was talking to Earthquake, and he was talking to Ant with 2 T's, and he was talking about Errol Spence's fighting style and the way Errol Spence can open up and you can catch him with a punch. And he was like, the way I beat Errol Spence is when he would throw a punch and open up, then that's when I would, punch it between his punches. And I had to rewind that shit like 3 times and listen to it again. And clear as day, Shawn Porter, he said, the way I beat Errol Spence. Because I'd have heard Shawn Porter say before, when he fought Errol Spence, he'd say, well, Errol Spence tried to beat me at my game. He tried to beat me at my game. Terrance Crawford beat me at his own game. And I'd be like, I hear what you're saying, but why you keep trying to say he tried to beat you at your game? Errol Spence beat you. Maybe he didn't beat you at your own game because he fought the way he fought. Maybe he would have fought differently. But Errol Spence didn't lose to you fighting in the style that he fought. Errol Spence beat you. You know what I'm saying? You say it was a close fight, split decision, and it wasn't for the knockdown in the 11th round, maybe you would have won. But if, ands, and buts, candy and nuts, we all have a Merry Christmas. Errol Spence beat you at your own game. So stop saying if, and stop thinking in your mind that you beat Errol Spence. You lost, but you the champ. You a champ, 2-time champion. Take nothing away from Shawn Porter. That just was glaring to me the way you said. When I beat Errol Spence, I punched him between his punches. Like, okay, Shawn Porter, you convinced yourself. You convinced yourself that you won that fight. Okay. Anyways, let me hurry up and get this video out the way. One thing Terrance Crawford said in that, because Terrance Crawford was very comfortable, and you know what I'm saying, he was to me, he was a little bit more entertaining, a little bit more forthcoming with information. He talked a little bit more than I expected him to. Like a few people that was interviewing Terrance Crawford, I thought they was being a little annoying, and Terrance Crawford would just kind of elaborate and expound on his thought, and he sometimes would start to go off on a little rant or a tangent, and I could hear a little bit more the way Terrance Crawford thinks on certain subjects, that kind of got to follow the bouncing ball or follow the rabbit down the rabbit hole to see the way he thinks on certain things. But one thing Terrance Crawford did say that I absolutely had to take a thought out of my whole day and think on it, and been thinking about it all day, is when he was saying how his kids will come up to him and they would be watching YouTube and stuff like that, and they would be like, "Are you gonna fight Spencer?" And that's adorable. But he's like, you know, all the fans want to fight, you know, he want to fight, and his kid, even your family want to fight. But he said his kids watching YouTube, and you know, that made me think. That made me look at certain situations a whole lot different, because even though I got a very, 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 very small little channel, still you put stuff out into the universe, and the boxing community is small. And I would hate, me personally, I would hate to put out a video and just talking all kind of negative shit about another person, about a fighter especially. I didn't never think of this until you said that. And I would hate to put out something and say all these negative things about a fighter just because he fighting somebody, you know, that, you know, you like this fighter, or you don't like this fighter, so you're gonna say all this negative shit about this fighter. And not even to think that his kid might get on YouTube and watch you tear down their father, who was a hero, a community hero, damn, a world champion fighter, but definitely a pillar of the community, and just a great, phenomenal person, and you tearing him down because you don't like him as a boxer for whatever reason. Not even thinking about, like, I never really tear down. I don't like to tear down people, period. But I never even thought, like, if I ever said anything that I wouldn't want nobody else to say to my kids about me, if I ever said anything real negative about Terrance Crawford, if I did, yeah, I have to really go back and apologize, because I respect Terrance Crawford to the utmost. You know what I'm saying? I criticize Errol Spence's resume more than I criticize Terrance Crawford's resume, as far as I can remember. But I just, you know, there's a lot of other YouTube content creators, and they talk heard a whole lot of people talk a whole lot of shit about Terrance Crawford. I done heard people talk a whole lot of shit about Errol Spence, but you don't even, I'm like, myself personally, I don't care what nobody else do, just myself personally, I will take that with me from now on out when I make videos, to be cautious of the things I say about these fighters. Not even when I take under the consideration that what if they kids just one day hear a video I make talking shit about they hero, they idol, they father, that's crazy to think like that. So when Terrance Crawford said his kids get on YouTube and hear what people are saying about his dad, that made me stop and think and recalibrate my thought process to say, hold up, man, you really gotta respect these dudes and put out respectable content about these dudes. If you call yourself supporting boxing, you can't always just talk about you support boxing because you support boxing with your money. People put all their value into money. I got a YouTube channel and I'm talking about boxers. My main goal would be to always look into their lives and find out how they inspire you to be a better person, and go through your wins with pride and go through your losses with humility and pride, and build yourself back up, or go through wars and come out a better person, and your family benefits from you being a man. You know what I'm saying? Because I mostly focus on boxing with the men, but also with women. It's a lot to learn from women when they go through their trials and tribulations. So when I make my videos talking about boxers, my mindset usually is from like a physical point of view, and a mental point of view, and a warrior point of view, and a gladiator point of view of the shit that we go through in our lives, and the purpose we go through it in our lives to be better people, just to survive and to conquer and to conquest and to live and to war and to peace and to celebrate in our victories and to know how to get through our losses. And that's what it's all about for me, is doing it for the family and doing it for the kids. So if you tearing down somebody and their kids see me tearing down another person just so I can make myself feel bigger, like some of these channels do, you way out of your reach. Some of these channels be way out of their reach. They way down here trying to reach way up here to bring somebody else down so they can stand on top of them to make themselves feel better. And it's like, okay, you doing all that for that, but this man have a family and kids that love him. So how that make you look to your family? So be mindful of that, and I'm gonna be mindful of that from now on out when I make my videos, to make sure I'm always very respectable if I'm critical, but with respect, and not to be saying things I wouldn't want to really put out into the universe for somebody kids to see. You talking bad about somebody that they love with all their heart, unconditional. Okay, I digress. Wrap up this video because I didn't want it to be too long, but you know, that was just key. That was key for me. That made me look at Terrance Bud Crawford. I always look at Terrance Bud Crawford with a lot of respect, but looking at him in these last few moments leading up to the fight, I think he really starting to shine. His personality shining through. Like I said, very vibrant, very confident, very comfortable, very calculated. I think he knows he's perfected his craft. He knows exactly what he feel like he has to do to win this fight. And I say the same thing for Errol Spence. He talks about his skills. You know, everybody want to focus on certain things. Some people focusing on stuff that's not even. I take it all as entertainment to a certain extent, but Errol Spence is focused on his skills, focused on game plan, focused on being focused, and he's in phenomenal shape. They've been through all the fire to be forged. They both show they got all kind of metal, all kind of heart, all kind of, you know what I'm saying, guts and integrity and character, and they're gonna put it all on the line for glory and legacy. And you know, people got to say it. I say let the best man win. Boxing fans win, boxing wins, and at the end of the day, I got Errol Spence being victorious through this fight. I think just skill. I think I like the way he highlights his skill, like his talking about the fundamentals. I think it's certain things that we don't see from Errol Spence and we don't see from Terrance Bud Crawford that they're going to bring it out of each other in that fight. And when that happens, I think there's more that meets the eye to Errol Spence than there is to Terrance Bud Crawford. I think I've seen more from Terrance Bud Crawford because he's fought competition that has made him go into his tool bag more and show his abilities, and I've seen a lot of his abilities on display. I think with Errol Spence, there's still a lot of things that's more than meets the eye that just won't be revealed until he fights a Terrance Bud Crawford, and then that's going to change the perspective on a lot of people that don't think he can win this fight. And then at the end of the day, they got to fight. They fight. Nobody out here really can fight the fight for them. You know, puppet masters, ain't no video game. You can't put them to no remote control and make them punch and make them, you know what I'm saying, bob and weave when you want them to. They gonna fight. Let the best man win. I'm riding with Errol Spence. Those are my thoughts. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments below. Nocturnal Thoughts. Salute, salute, salute.